complex. So we could deceive ourselves about the truth that is in us. So Jonah was called to do a work, and not just a job. He was not just given a job to do. This is the reason why Jonah was created, right? To go to the people of Nineveh, to preach the gospel there and do the work, right? And we know that we read as when we're fasting, what did he decide to do? No, he just didn't leave. He did leave. He went the opposite direction, twice the distance. So it's not just saying no. Like, this is very deliberate. Like, and maybe to ignore and just sit there would have been fine, but he said, no, I'm going to go, just to make sure, because even if somehow it's going to take me longer, I'm not going to get to do it. Like, if you're going to destroy them in a certain number of days, by the time I come back, there's no time. Like, he had really thought about this. This is the fear of success. Like, usually, most of the time, and especially in the Adam complex, we are afraid of failure, or we are shamed because of the failure. But in Jonah complex, we are afraid of success, the potential that we have to succeed, or the fear of that great accomplishment. Some people in high positions are plagued by this on a regular basis. So why would someone be afraid to succeed?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. There's a lot of effort. Jonah, it's easier to sleep in the boat, go on a cruise, than to go preach and fast and pray. Yes?
I mean, I don't know if this would really apply to the story of Jonah, but I think the reason people would be afraid to succeed is there would be a lot to lose.
What is there to lose?
When you succeed, there will be a lot more that you have that you can lose.
Okay, very good. So there is a fear of not being able to maintain that success, or what they call in graduate school, which is imposter syndrome. Have you heard of this? First time I learned it was in graduate school last time. Was I don't know how I got into this school. Exactly, everyone else seems smarter and works harder, and I'm here struggling, and everyone seems it's very easy. So maybe they made a mistake, but I'm just going to pretend that I know exactly what I'm doing and continue and try hard, but at the same time, it's misery, right? Because I don't think I really belong. And it turns out that many graduate students have this experience. That's why they should tell you about it before you get into graduate school. But that requires a lot of energy and effort. Because if I think, you know what, this is a mistake, I'm not supposed to be here, it's easy for me to leave. But if no, I'm called to this, and I'm supposed to do this, I do need to extend that effort. There is a chance that, yes, I might not succeed. It's not just a fear of failure. In our life, we were talking about it just in the last meeting, that we are created for the will, to do the will of God. But that will of God for each one of us, yes, in general is holiness and live a life of sanctification. But we also have a specific call. And it requires that discovery with a clear voice of God in our life. Sometimes because we're so distracted by many other things, we don't hear the call very clear, and we go in circles because we didn't hear or respond to that call. And sometimes it's because of self-deception that I may have heard the call, but I'm suppressing the call. That's what Jonah tried to do in the boat. He didn't want to hear. The waves, okay, waves, no problem, I'm going to go down. They still hear noise, I'm going to go to sleep. And it didn't work. They said, what are you doing? there's no way you could have not noticed that we are in a storm. We're sailors and we are worried. You're just here for the day. So when they wake him up, he says, okay, I know what the problem is. He said, what do you mean you know what the problem is? And these mariners didn't believe in the same God. They believed in different things, but they didn't have the God of Israel that Jonah did. So when they start to hear him, they panicked, right? Non-believers panicked. What do you mean you did this against God? How could you do this against God? So Jonah said, don't worry, I have a solution. Just throw me. What do you mean throw you? Like, first of all, Jonah, if you want to go, why don't you just jump? Why do you need them to throw you? But it's very conscious. Yeah, the waves were very hard, so maybe he didn't want to hit the boat, like if you jumped in the boat. But that's not the reason. The reason is because he knew that God, who was using this as a form of discipline to get Jonah to do what he needs to do. And the people that were going, the mariners, they were not responsible. They were facing the same threat because of Jonah, who was not obedient to the will of God. So he said, to relieve them of that, okay, you throw me, you have nothing to, God will deal with me on my own. If he wants to take me, he takes me. If he wants to save me, he knows that God is going to have him do the work. The will of God for him was very deep inside. And I think we do know it. At your age, you probably have a good sense. But the rest, sometimes we take some years to come to terms with it, to accept, to start doing that hard work. But there's a lot of fear that's oppressing it, because we're afraid of other things, not just of success. What are we afraid of? And usually at a younger age. That's why we don't hear it. Okay, anyone? Huh? Tension? What type of there's tension?
I said attention.
Attention. Okay. We can be afraid of attention when we know the will of God, or when God is calling in this way. Everything in your life changes, including for him. So for him, it was his name, it was his occupation, it was his family, it was the daily life, it was how he would die. Everything changes. When you're young, it could be your friends, right? When you want to go to church more and serve more. But my friends are here, my life is here. You'll be like, no. This is, God calls you to these things, not to those things. Say, but I don't want to lose all of these things, right? Not just time and energy, but what if they know, like, really to follow the will of God could be drastically different than what I'm working on right now in my life. And it's that shift, that change, that sometimes is too devastating for us. So we'll postpone or ignore or reject. It's not just for the apostles, just for the bishops and the priests, but it's for all Christians, because it is standing against the world. And how we stand against and how we do what God wants us to do, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so unique to each one of us. I can't give you an equation. It needs a regular relationship to unpack all of those things. The first question you ask is why? Why me? Why not him? Why not her? Why not later? So there's a period of rejection, but it needs that conversation to explore, to understand more. And some of the questions are not answered till later. Because God told St. Paul, to use him as an example, or Jonah, he didn't explain to him what he was going to do, everything with the Ninevites. Like Abraham, when God called him, he said, okay, go. Leave your family, leave your country, and just go. And it's one of my favorite passages because he doesn't tell him where to go, how far to go, when to stop, what are you going to do when you go. None of that is there, none of it. It's just go. Leave this, and I'm going to tell you later on what you need to do. And I always say, like, someone tells you to go, and then you get in your car, the car's on, you have gas. Or you have to leave the city, so you go to the airport. What are you going to, you're not, it's not, and it's not just him, he has some people with him. So it is a very difficult situation, right? And they're going to say, well, God told you to do what? He said to leave. So we have to leave. And when you ask for more and more information, they say, just I know what I'm doing. So we sometimes ignore the will of God, and sometimes, even in the interim, we waste time and energy. We prefer to do something to keep our minds off of the spiritual things. Right? I know I should be doing something else, but I need to relax and enjoy all the stress. I always say in college, if you think you have stress now, wait a few years, you get into graduate school. In graduate school, you think it's a lot. Just wait till marriage, and wait till children, and wait till finance, and wait till, like, there's so much coming. Not to make you feel very overwhelmed, but to see really, like you say, remember the days in college when you had hours. Yes, you didn't sleep much, but that's because you didn't want to sleep, and you wanted to do different things during the day so you can stay up at night and study. But life, when it calls, there's a lot of things that we are not focused in our call and our mission. You say, but I still haven't figured it out yet. Right, because it needs some time to invest, to be with our Creator, to hear that voice. Because we could be asking for a lot of things that are not really that important. They seem very important to us right now. But we also need to spend more time investing on asking God, what do you want me to do? And sometimes for many years in our life, that is the question. What do you want me to do? Not just with this problem, but with this picture. Sometimes you'll be very spiritual and you say, okay, I have to decide for this school, I have to decide this, marry this person, not marry this person, what to do in this problem. And you spend that time and energy in fasting and praying and putting on the altar, and God will reveal to you this big picture. You say, but I'm not talking about the big picture. I have this. He said, yes, I know that problem. That problem we'll take care of, but I don't know the next time I'm going to get for you to be this focused and with me. So I will reveal both. Yes, you remember?
No, that's it. I was actually talking to my dad about this one time, about like what God shows you and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he told me a story about a monk that was in Egypt. He was he was very holy, and then I forgot how it goes.
You know the end. I know you know the end.
They told him, oh, you're very holy, and you're gonna
You're gonna go on a chariot,
we're gonna take you to heaven on a chariot. They tell him, go to that thing at night.
Go to the top of it.
And then there's a chariot there, and then he steps on it, and there was nothing. So he jumped, and then he died.
Yeah, he didn't die immediately. He died a few days later. But yeah, he repented in between. The devil deceived him. The devil deceived him. But that story they would tell to the monks, because when we are trying to assess the will of God, we have to consult with our father confession. He hid this because the demon who deceived him, he told him, don't tell your father confession. He's going to tell you, no, don't come with me. He's going to be jealous because you're going to tell him you go to heaven. He wants to go to heaven. He's not going to let you do it. So don't tell him. So they would use this story. This happened, and it wasn't one of the monks. It would be an example to the monks and to us how that we use the guidance, spiritual guidance, in assessing what is God's will. Especially if there's an angel or appears to you and tells you something about the will of God, double check. Because I know many times we will see this and we'll verify, say, yes, this is seen, yes, clear. And many times you're like, no, this is not God, fast or pray or do this, and then it goes away. So if there's a vision, let Abuna and Abuna know, or one of the spiritual guides. But normally, there's different things that we do to hear the will of God.